All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. Tonight we're going to be going through our 2025 fantasy football bust at the quarterback, running back, receiver, and tight end positions, or as AJ calls them, his entire fantasy football roster. We'll be right back.
The Fantasy Six-Pack Hour with your hosts, Joe Bob and AJ Applegarth.
Touchdown! All right. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixpack.net. With me to my left and right, AJ Applegarth. What's going on, man?
It's been a day. It's been a week. I will be enjoying my Simply AJ for Adam Jones and maybe a garage beer or two. I don't know. We'll see where the night takes us.
Oh boy. All right, Corey, how about you, man? You doing a little bit better?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I can't complain. My weekend starts a little early. I got a wedding this weekend, so I am
good stuff, man.
off on work tomorrow, and so yeah, exciting weekend. Not drinking, just my usual Gatorade Zero, but you know.
I mean, you got off work tomorrow. Why aren't you drinking? Right. All right. So yeah, like I said, tonight we're gonna be talking about what's going on, Jamie. Gonna be hitting up those fantasy football busts like we did sleepers last week. But of course, before we jump into there, just want to remind you while you are here, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave those comments wherever you're watching or listening. We love hearing from you, and that helps us out a lot. And of course, jump over to fantasysixpack.net. You're going to get access to the draft cheat sheet that is fully customizable to your league. We've got a free edition of it for Scott Fishbowl out, so you can kind of preview it. It's very specific to Scott Fishbowl, so it's not going to work for your league, but go ahead and check it out. And, of course, the award-winning rankings. I am now currently number 3 for multi-year draft ranking accuracy for the last 3 years combined, I think. So the rankings came out a couple of days ago for that. So there you go. We got that. And yeah, all the betting and the DFS content. We got player projections. We've got the Discord where you get access to the three of us and then some to help answer your questions. Go over there, use promo code F6P Pods and save 15%. All right, guys, you ready to go?
Born ready to talk about busts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Just depends on what type of bust we're talking about.
We're going to talk some quarterback busts here. And our sleepers last week, if anybody wants to be reminded, were CJ Stroud, Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence. So our bust this week, AJ, we will let you go first.
All right. Quarterbacks, I am going with Mr. Kermit the Frog. Hi ho. Thank you for coming out to the game today. I hope my hair did not get in the way. Patrick Mahomes.
That was actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, man. That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
I can actually do better, but I've got a little sinusy congestion, so it's keeping my Kermit down about a B level, not the A+ I usually bring. But yeah, so Pat Mahomes, he is
Ted bringing the heat.
Sorry, he is when I wrote this up, he was QB11. QB11 last year. So obviously still a top 12 quarterback for your standard leagues. But he just fell off last year. And no, this isn't like, oh, well, the Eagles crushed him in the Super Bowl, so this is an obvious pick for the big Eagles fan. No, this isn't where I'm going with that. he was still okay, but I wasn't impressed by him, and I had him in a couple of leagues, and I was more weeks than not. I was disappointed in what I was getting out of him. The big kicker here is that his yardage was under 4,000. Close, 39.28. Still at 26 tutties, but 11 interceptions. You know, he rushes a little bit, but nothing crazy. You're not
Mhm.
drafting him because of his rushing acumen, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. But just in general, Kelsey was off last year. He had a lot of disappointing activity in the wide receiver room. Lots of injuries that he dealt with. So I get why he was a little down last year potentially, but I also just think he is, getting older. He's not the same quarterback that he was a couple years ago, in my opinion. And right now he's going at QB6. Like I said, that ADP might be a little off at 58, 59, so late fourth. I don't know. I'm just not buying him at all this year. And if he falls to me, maybe like 2, 3 rounds later, I might think about it. But by that point, I probably already have a quarterback locked up, so it will not be Mahomes.
You are early QB guy, it sounds like.
I am indeed.
I am on the fence with Mahomes. I hear all the arguments against. I'm just going to play devil's advocate here and say he didn't have Rashee Rice for last year. Hollywood Brown was injured. Pacheco was out for most of the year, and he still finished QB 11. I mean, he was working with not a lot. Let's be real. Travis Kelce, as we saw, could not do it by himself and is slowing down. I think, like, if we're talking about anybody slowing down, it's Travis Kelce, right? So I just think, it's one of those, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks, in the NFL. I think, football wise, right? But it's how does it translate to fantasy? And yeah, he's not the running quarterback but he's going behind all of those running quarterbacks outside of like Kyler Murray, basically. And Kyler Murray has his warts big time, so we know that. So I don't know, man. I'm sort of on the fence with him. I have him ranked right where he's going ADP right now, and it's because he's getting all these weapons back this year, and you just it's hard to predict injuries, but if they can stay healthy, man, we know what Pat Mahomes can do, and it is unreal, like good, like 40 touchdown good. So
yeah, but I mean, he hasn't hit 40 touchdowns in 3 years now.
I get it. He hasn't had to. The defense got better. That
he's
is one
never
thing
had under 4,000 yards in his career. Not counting.
That's true.
2017. The touchdowns were lower than his usual rate. So I agree that could, should regress positively. Assuming everybody that's there is healthy again.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'm just, they're going to have a tough schedule again, going up against, all the number one teams. I believe they're playing the NFC East. So it could be a bumpy road.
I will say projections have him at QB6 also, by the way. So
but projections are simply projections.
Okay.
Of all people, you're the one who tells me stop reading into projections. They're bullshit.
Wait, what? I don't say that.
You did. You do all the time, every day.
Every day. I'm going to reference. Sure. I'm going to reference a stat that I don't know if we've ever referenced before here when it comes to Patrick Mahomes, any quarterback that we talked about, and that is intended air yards per pass attempt. So basically, an intended air yard is if I throw the ball 30 yards down the field, even if it's caught or not, I get 30 yards of intended air yards, meaning like I'm attacking downfield, right? So in his amazing season, like 2018, he had 5,260 intended air yards. I mean, he is slinging it downfield. And it has steadily gone down. He peaked out like 4,900, 4,800. Last season, 3,600 intended air yards. He is basically just dumping it off. 6.2 air yards per pass attempt is extremely short.
Mhm.
Now, that could be, like you guys have already talked about, right? Xavier Worthy was a rookie. Rasheed Rice isn't there. Travis Kelce can't get downfield anymore. Maybe it starts to go back up. It needs to go back up because otherwise he's game managing is what he's doing. And not that he can't be still good doing that. Like you said, he finished QB 11. I've seen him go. I got him once in a draft this season, like a couple weeks ago in the 8th round. I'll take him there all day. I don't want him at 56 or whatever AJ referenced as the ADP, 58. I don't really want him there, but if I can get him like 7th, 8th round, that's fine with me. Because like you guys already talked about, we know what he can do. It's just a different Patrick Mahomes that we saw last season.
Yeah, agreed.
Corey,
who you got, man?
I will take mine, and it is a similar type of quarterback in some respects. Jared Goff is going off the board by our ADP as quarterback 12. He finished 6th in fantasy scoring last year. So if Jared Goff, former first overall pick many years ago, 9-year veteran of the NFL, he has been a top 10 option in fantasy each of the past 4 times in his career, each of the past 3 seasons. Those also happen to be the 3 seasons that Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator with the Detroit Lions. He is no longer the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator. He is now the head coach of the Chicago Bears. So that's a strike 1. Now they brought in John Morton, who was with the Lions a couple of years ago. He was the passing game coordinator last season with Denver. He will step back into the role. We saw Bo Nix have a lot of success last season as the quarterback. He finished quarterback 7. So he's had success doing this. But the other thing is, I just think that the Detroit Lions do not want to have to rely on Jared Goff to score fantasy points like they did. Their problem was their defense got very injured down the stretch, and suddenly Jared Goff spiked and had to attempt way more passes than they planned on. So over the first 11 games last season, the defense was averaging 18.5 points, and he was basically QB 14. And then the defense got injured. The offense averaged 26.5 points, and he jumped up to QB 2 in the second half. That's not how they want to win. Ben Johnson there or not, they don't want to win with Jared Goff. They want to hand the ball to David Montgomery. They want to hand the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs a lot. Yep. And
Jared Goff look what happened in the playoffs when they had to rely on Goff. Yeah.
Jared Goff is efficient. I think if you want to pick, like if you can get him where he was going last year, I feel like it was roughly QB 15, and he can be valuable in certain matchups, but I don't want to draft Jared Goff as a top 12 quarterback and rely on him every week because I think he's the same thing he's always been, which is a streamer more than a lock and load every week starting quarterback.
And thank you for Washington taking them out, so we did not have to go to Detroit and just kick their ass in the NFC Championship game.
Alrighty.
Shots fired early. All right.
Shots fired.
Who you got, Joe?
All right.
You want to comment on that?
I mean, I kind of agree with Goff. I mean, Goff's fine. I am a little worried with the offense without Ben Johnson there. You do have to be a little concerned. He's gonna have like big spike weeks and then kind of dud weeks. That's kind of the problem with him. He's not super consistent. AJ, back in the day, we used to have Bob Lung on the show. We talk consistency all the time. And Jared Goff, to me, just is not one of the more consistent quarterbacks. So he's not a guy. He may finish in that range, right? But he's not a guy who you want. He's not a locked in QB1 every week is the problem. You think back at like Kirk Cousins, right? Same kind of guy, right? Big weeks. Big highs, big lows. Like that's what it is with Jared Goff. So I'm gonna go, and it's funny, Uncle Ted, you keep talking about Bo Nix. I initially wrote down Bo Nix and then went, nah, you know what? Because exactly what you're saying, these rushing yards kind of keep him afloat. He's not awesome at it, but keeps him afloat. Young guy, I think he still has a little bit of room to go. But do you have access to my sheet, man? Baker Mayfield is absolutely my bust, man. I think this is the guy going way too early. As of right now, we're talking QB7, right behind Pat Mahomes, right ahead of Bo Nix. ahead of Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, those types of guys. Look, I get it. Baker Mayfield had an amazing season. Through I forget a ton of touchdown passes. I forget exactly how many it was, but he had a great year. And if you had asked us 3 years ago, if Baker Mayfield would ever going to be this good, I think everybody would have laughed you out of the room. Like, no way. 41 touchdowns? No way. He's not repeating that. It was a 7.2% touchdown rate for him. That means for every no way. This is not going to happen. League average, I believe, is somewhere around like 4.5, if not less. And it's you see guys who have these like big spikes in touchdown rates like this, and Baker is one of them this year. If you look at his history, he's hovering around the 4 or the 5 range, stuff like that. Jamie, can I say Aaron Rodgers of the bus? That's a fact at this point. Yeah, and we don't need to talk about Aaron Rodgers. But Baker's one of those guys where he's also losing his offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen. So that is something we talked about last week, him going to Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence. That's why we like Trevor Lawrence this year a little bit more. Am I drafting Trevor Lawrence ahead of Baker? Probably not. But I'm probably just going to pass. Like, honestly, I think my strategy for quarterback this year is if I do not get one of these like stud rushing quarterbacks, these top 5 guys, I'm out. I'm just waiting. Like, it don't even matter. Like, somebody's going to pop up out of nowhere and be awesome. Like, it happens every year. And there's just no reason to go after these, honestly, streaming type quarterbacks. You've got to hit on somebody like a Baker Mayfield who throws 41 touchdowns and 4,500 yards. In just a crazy year for him. That career highs like crazy, and yeah, it's too much for me. I'm out on Baker Mayfield at its draft cost.
I think you draft Baker Mayfield thinking that you like splitting the difference between the 2 years in Tampa Bay, right? Like, can he hit 4,200 passing yards? Probably. Is he going to get 41 touchdowns? No. 30, 32, something like that. And then he's probably QB 10-ish, like somewhere around there. And it's fine, but like I'm not I don't know if I'd say Baker Mayfield's a bust, but I would not say I'm targeting Baker Mayfield either. Like, he's someone that if he falls to me, I'll take him, but I'm trying to get him.
I'm not going to predict any of these guys to be like, oh, they're going to drop to like QB 20. They're going to be terrible. Like, nah, I'm not going that far, but QB 7 right now, probably not. He's going to drop to like QB 10, 11, 12-ish range. So the guys. Anybody else, or AJ, you want to start off the next position?
Yeah. I was going to say Baker was kind of my surprise from last year. I was not expecting that. I drafted him super late. In one of my leagues, I'm going to use him as a keeper because of how late he was drafted there. But yeah, I'm not expecting him to repeat that. Maybe he surprises us, but I do think last year was a bit of an anomaly for him. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, let's move it on over to running back here. And Corey, we will start with your bust at running back.
Take everything that Joe said about touchdown regression and let's move it to a different position, because I am going to talk about James Cook here. So first top 10 running back finish of his career, being drafted as the RB14. I don't think I said that. First top 10 running back finish of his career last season, despite having 300 fewer total yards than the year before, but the difference was touchdowns. So last season, 1,267 total yards. That's good. The year before, he had 1,567, but 6 touchdowns the year before, 18 last season, tied for the league with 16 rushing touchdowns. I don't remember if it was last week or a few weeks ago where we talked about, like, remember Jamal Williams? He had the year where he led the league in touchdowns. It's fluky. LeGarrette Blount led the league in touchdowns. Jeremy Hill has led the league in touchdowns. Raheem Mostert, all in the last 10 years. Those guys have led the league in touchdowns. The only ones that have went back-to-back leading the league in touchdowns are Derrick Henry. Say what you want about James Cook. I'm very confident he is not a cyborg like Derrick Henry is. LaDainian Tomlinson, another like Hall of Famer,
style.
and Todd Gurley, right? Looked amazing until his knee got shredded. So could James Cook lead the league in touchdowns? Like, you're never going to bet that. No one's going to expect that to happen. He could. Sure. It's possible. I don't expect it to. And I'll be shocked if he gets 18 again, or 18 total touchdowns, 16 rushing touchdowns. Drop it down to 10. And then he's maybe able to reach that value. It requires the Bills to lead the league in rushing touchdowns again. And then he has to keep getting his chunk because Josh Allen had a substantial portion too of them. So if the Bills passing offense picks up any more touchdowns, both of those lose rushing touchdowns. James Cook's going to lose rushing touchdowns. Now, because he was a top 10 running back, he's going at 14. Maybe it's built in a little bit, but I could see James Cook finishing outside the top 20 running backs pretty easily. This team likes Ray Davis too. They showed they want to get him the ball, and then Ty Johnson comes on the field and catches passes for him. So there are ways that James Cook becomes, 65% of this offense in the backfield on top of, and if he doesn't get the touchdowns, then you're a little disappointed with where you're having to pick him. So I'll put James Cook as a bust.
The only thing I would say about James Cook, like I agree with you, he's not going to repeat the touchdowns, right? But he's not being drafted for that still, man. Like, I mean, RB14, that's not terrible for what he is. In a good offense that still lacks a receiver. And so, like, when they get in close, it's Cook or it's Josh Allen. In reality, right? Like, I think that's all. Unless Keon Coleman really just like blows up, which I like him coming out of college, and I do think there is another level he can get to, but I'm just not sure if that's going to happen. Like, I that's the one argument against that. I would say is I do think with his draft cost RB14, like. Maybe, okay, I would give you Kenneth Walker, but outside of that, who behind him do you really like more? Joe Mixon, Omarion Hampton, Chuba Hubbard, James Conner, David Montgomery, Travion Henderson. Like, we go into that like RB dead zone, man. Like, that's kind of where we at with him. James Cook is like the break, in my opinion, where it's like, I want nothing to do with the guys after him.
Like a tier
but
break?
you tell me, like any of those.
I'll take Chuba Hubbard over him. Over him.
Okay.
I don't remember who else. Omarion Hampton, probably not. I don't remember. I'd have to pull up the list.
Joe Mixon,
Connor,
Montgomery.
That's tough. I might take my.
That's the problem. Is like how you're gonna pass on him and then.
Yeah. Do you have the AD? Is that ADP you're looking at?
That is.
How much higher is James Cook? Like, how much higher is James Cook going than say a player? Like, we're just throwing names like.
Then, like James Cook is 35th consensus between like the 7 or 8 sites that we use. Yeah. Alvin Kamara is next at 44, and then Kenneth Walker is 44. Omarion Hampton is 45. Joe Hubbard is 47. So it is.
So it's like a round
9-10 picks.
I'll take Kamara over him. I'll take Kamara over him all day.
Okay.
That one
I would potentially do that in PPR leagues.
I would take Kenneth Walker over him too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good point.
Uncle Ted, you must have missed last week's show, man. Swift was my sleeper. So I got you on that one, but I still would probably take Cook over Swift. The difference is you don't have to take Swift this high because I mean, you're talking like a 3-round difference between Swift and Cook and ADP. So, yes, go get Swift maybe a round early before everybody else can possibly get him. But I'm not going to reach for him in the 3rd round. That'd be suicide for your team, in my opinion. So, all right, who are we on?
We're on you, sir.
We're up.
All right. I'm going Kyren Williams, who I believe might have been my buzz last year, but that didn't work because they decided they were just going to feed this guy the ball 1,000 times again. I just don't believe it's going to happen again. It's going to happen for the 3rd year in a row. I have no idea.
Can't keep getting away with it. Sorry.
300 carries, 300 I'm trying to look at the stats. Sorry, 316 carries. So like his workload went up again, right? Efficiency still just isn't there, man. 4.1 yards per attempt. It's okay. It's not great. It's volume. It's volume. And one thing that I really am worried about with this is, like, I know they had Cooper Kupp and Puka last year, but Cooper Kupp was hurt for a lot of the year. And then when he came back, like, they really phased him out of the offense. Like, he wasn't used a lot. I mean, he was droppable at the end of the season, like, just not used. It was Puka and Kyren Williams, and that was it, man. I think unless he can get the volume that he got last year again, you're going to regret the pick. I took him in one league, and it was more of I was pissed because the person in front of me, Scott Simpson, took Derrick Henry, and I was bitter, and I was on the clock, and I went, oh crap, and clicked the button, and it worked out. Like, I did not want Kyren Williams at all. I wanted Derrick Henry easily, and but yeah, I mean, with Devontae Adams there now and Puka, it sounds like, looks like they want to open this passing game back up a lot more. And Kyren Williams can easily, he's involved in the passing game. Don't be wrong there. Don't think he can't be involved in the passing game. 40 targets the last 2 years each. To me, it's just the lack of efficiency from him, and it seems like they keep wanting to try to find somebody to be able to spell him more and more and more. Right? Last year was Corum, who kind of had, like, it looked like at one point he was going to be a guy, but not really. This year, I believe they brought him in Jacquizz Rogers or whoever it was. Yeah. Again, probably not a high draft pick, but it's just another guy who could potentially, steal the spotlight here. I say the only thing going for him with the volume is that we do know McVay just likes to use one guy. Unless it's Darrell Henderson, and then they just figure out how to get him on the field all the time. But I don't think he's there.
Is he even still in the league?
I have no idea. I just thought about it when I started talking about him using one guy and being like, I just remember how pissed off I was every time he threw in Darrell Henderson on the field, because it was like, no, you use whoever I have, not Darrell Henderson, because I don't have Darrell Henderson. Nobody does. Stop it.
He's out there selling used cars and insurance for those used cars during the day, and at night he's a Twitch star.
Oh my gosh. All right. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on Kyren Williams. I just think his ADP is a little too high.
Yeah, I've never had the chance to have him on a team, so I'm kind of biased against him just for that sole reason, that I've never enjoyed what he's done. But I do think that offense is gonna lean more pass heavy, like you said. He is the guy, but I don't know. I just think I think he's a little too high ADP wise.
He is. So I was just like Joe last year. I wrote the busts, I think, for the site, and I believe I definitely put him on there, and he made me look like a fool.
I think a lot of people did, man.
But
yeah, they have a fantasy.
He's essentially become Najee Harris, is what he's become, like slightly better than that, where he's super inefficient on a per carry basis. But if he's going to get 27, 28, 29 carries a week, I think he averaged 20 carries a game. The only people with more touches were Saquon and Derrick Henry, I think, last season. If he's going to do that, he'll still be a top 10, 15 running back at worst. But I am not banking on that. So I don't know. If I could get him in the 4th-ish round, I think it's a steal. But I don't. Yeah, you're not. Where's his ADP at right now, Joe?
You're not getting him there. ADP right now for Kyren Williams is 25.
Yeah, it's too high.
Across the board, we're looking at 32, 23, 23, 24, 26, 25, 27, 27. So the lowest he is at is on Sleeper with 32.
That's not bad. That's okay. That's the middle of the 3rd round. That I would be fine with. I think back end of the 3rd round, early in the Like that's where I'd want to get
I
him.
would say he is still at that point going ahead of Chase Brown, Breece Hall, James Cook, and then of course the gap and Kamara, and then some.
Yeah,
so I don't know. I don't know if I would
Chase Brown ahead of him. I would take Chase
Brown.
Oh,
I'm a big Chase Brown fan. Yeah. Gimme. So
okay.
All right. So leading into my bust here, and that will be Devon Achane, whatever. Now, where he is right now is the biggest reason of why I'm not drafting him. He finished RB6 last year. He's looking at RB7 right now, coming into draft season, ADP of 14.6 consensus on F6P. But that has him going as early as 11th. So he's a late first there, and as late as 18. So still barely halfway through the second. It's a little too rich for me. Looking at what he did last year, I get that he was RB6. A lot of that is because of his, standout in the passing game. He is very valuable there. So I would, kind of lean a little less as a bust for PPR, maybe even half PPR, because he does get a ton of receptions. He had 87 targets last year, and 78 of them were caught. He basically tripled his what was I looking at? His receptions from 23 to 24. And yardage was also almost tripled from 197 to 592. But what I'm looking at is the rushing here, and that's what's got me scratching my head, because in 23, while he only played in 11 games, he had 103 rushing attempts for 800 yards. Last year, in 17 games, he went up 100 more rushing attempts and only went up 107 more yards. So not a big change in success. Actually, his success rate went down about 5 points. So I don't love what I'm seeing out of him as a rushing back. So that's the big thing for me. And, last year he had 10 games where he had under 41 rushing yards. He had 6 games with 1 rushing touchdown, 7 games, 0 touchdowns. So, that's not really what you're looking to get. Now, again, some of those games he may have had a receiving touchdown, so that offsets a little bit, but more times than not, he's not finding the end zone on the ground. So that's why I'm looking against him this year. His draft cost is still way too high for me. There's so many other quality players that I would rather have than taking a chance on him that early. Thoughts?
I could disagree more. This is the one. Like, I will take him at the back of the first round, thinking that I think he is the last running back that has a legitimate chance where I can make, without saying, okay, injury happened, Devon Achane, nothing changes. He can be RB1, right? Like,
I agree.
He blends a little more efficiency in there. His terrible weeks are when Tua's out. That's when he couldn't get anything going. When Tua's in there, weekly finishes 3, 2, 2, 2, 24, 6, 6, 6, 7, 13, 14, 3, 37, and 8. I think we can. Do I think he's going to catch 90% of the passes thrown his way again? Probably not. But Jonnu Smith's gone now. And yeah, we talked about how it'll help Jalen Waddle. What happens if more of them go to Devon Achane, right?
Right.
What happens if he gets 100 targets and he catches 75 again? And maybe the pass receptions, the yardage goes up a little bit. It's not like he was getting all these downfield targets, 35 yards a game catching. What happens if that jumps to 50? He's the fastest player in the league. What happens if the 4.5 yards per attempt from last season gets closer? Will it be the 7.8 he had?
5.1.
No. What if he averages 5 yards a carry?
Right.
He rushes for 1,000 yards. He catches 1,600, 600 yards. We're talking a 1,600-yard back who scores a dozen touchdowns. That's the biggest disagreement we're going to have probably in any of these shows, because I am perfectly fine taking him at the back of the first round, and I will do that if he's there most of the time.
I saw him down and was like, "Oh, this is going to be an interesting conversation." Because nobody's agreeing with you, AJ. Sorry, man.
That's fine. No one has to agree. And then you're all going to be wrong when I'm right. So that's great.
All
I
right.
can wear that crown.
Yeah. Achane can't stay healthy. Can't take him round 1 or 2. He didn't miss a game last week.
My
He
other
didn't miss.
point.
He didn't miss a game last year.
I'm pretty sure he's
He
played.
must have gotten hurt in week 5, maybe.
He played in all 17 games last year. So
yeah, but he must have gotten banged up in week 5. Yeah, I know.
I think that was a concussion week. That was because I remember that was Tua was concussed, and then he got concussed in that game, and he got
hurt his rookie year quite a few times. I do remember that. But yeah, last year he was always on the field. I mean, he played every game and he was awesome outside of and he was still even like really good in a lot of weeks without Tua, which is like crazy to think too. Like it's just that was the thing. It was like he was the only one who was productive without Tua on the field. It wasn't as productive, but he was still good. I'm all in on Achane. So, oh well.
Moving on to wide receivers. I will bring up wide receivers here. Joe, who do you have for a bust wide receiver?
Oh, I hate to say it, man, but Terry McLaurin is gonna bust this year.
I think he should have to take his hat off, don't you think, AJ? Should he have to
take his hat off? Lynch. How dare you?
So there's a few things going against him, right? One is he scored 13 touchdowns last year. His career high before that was his rookie season with 7. 4 and 5 were the next 4 years, like mixed in. I don't look Kyle Debo taking over. Absolutely not. But I do think, look, the one thing you got to think about though is he saw a 23% target share last year, and it was near the top of the league. Like it was, definitely like top 20 or I'm trying to find the number here. He would have been, like definitely like top 35 between receivers and running backs and tight ends combined. But the next highest target share for the Commanders last year was Zach Ertz, and because they had no other receivers, Noah Brown, like they had guys who showed up every once in a while, like every other week, and it seemed like there was a new receiver too. Michael Gallup season. That's funny. So I do think Debo plays a big factor in this. I'm also worried about this holdout. We see this all the time where these guys hold out. And if this drags on and he starts missing camp, look, we see it every single year, especially with receivers, right? They hold out. They don't go to camp. They sign late eventually, right? They'll sign him. I think there's almost no way they're going to let him walk. He's not getting this $38 million. That is insanity. If he's going to hold steady on that one, goodbye. Like no way are we getting him back. But that's Jamar Chase money. You're not getting Jamar Chase money, man. You're going to be turning 30 on September 15th. Did anybody else know that? I found that out today. I was like, holy cow, my jaw dropped. I had no idea it was that old. But when you hold out, like we saw with CeeDee Lamb, like he started the year slow, finally came on. It happens every year with these guys. They don't get involved with, they've had chemistry in the past, but it takes the conditioning and everything to get used to it. Like you need a few reps in preseason here and there. Like it's just nuts, man. So things could change if he gets back on the field. Maybe he's not quite as big of a bust for me if he signs a contract, but I still am worried about people are drafting him a little bit too high based off of last year's touchdowns, and I don't think that's going to be repeatable.
So I targeted Terry McLaurin pretty much everywhere last season and kind of lucked out because it wasn't the way that I expected him to be good. Like, I didn't expect the touchdowns to drop. I thought the targets would go up, right? Jaden Daniels is here. It's a better quarterback than they've had in a while. And instead, the targets actually fell to the lowest level since his rookie season. But instead, he replaced them with 13 touchdowns. And I already talked about, like,
but he caught more. He caught more outside of his like second year, which is funny.
And that's probably because Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback than what they've had, right? Like,
absolutely.
And that's fine. That can happen. But I've already talked about it with James Cook. You talked about it with Baker Mayfield. Targets regress or touchdowns regress, right? 13 falls to 8, and you're a middle wide receiver, like wide receiver 15 to 25, where he's finished forever and probably will likely do that again for a couple of years. But yeah, I think he's probably what he's been, except the touchdowns back down.
Yeah.
AJ, anything on Terry McLaurin, or you want to jump into yours?
No, I think you guys pretty much covered it. I mean, I agree that the holdout's kind of my biggest concern with him right now, and getting off to a slow start. But I do think he is, very trusted with Daniels. So I think that relationship will still be there. But it's going to depend on Daniels too, and how he progresses in year 2. And with Debo there, and Ertz back again, my sleeper tight end from last week. I don't know. I mean, I think Daniels is going to be able to branch out a little bit more too. So, but
he is in this weird, like, sorry, I do want to say, like, he is in this weird ADP range where, I don't love, like, I'm not like, oh man, I really want this guy at his ADP of any of these guys. I mean, Garrett Wilson's going right in front of him. Tyreek Hill is maybe him. I think of buying back on the bounce back of Tyreek Hill. Obviously, I think older guy, but I kind of think he's going a little too late. But Devontae Adams, Rashee Rice, maybe Marvin Harrison, Mike Evans, I think is another guy, like touchdown regression big time with Godwin back on the field, like a guy that you might, but I think that's baked into the cost. DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, those types of guys, like that's his ADP range. I'm not sure there's really anybody behind him who I'm like, oh, he has to go in front of him. That's kind of the issue with McLaurin. Like the draft cost, like his ranking might be good. It's just the overall ADP for him is like, I'm not interested in like any of those guys at that range.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird drop off. And I mean, with Tyreek Hill, what do you have like money on the Dolphins or something this year? I mean, you're just all over them this year. First
do you know how?
him,
do you remember how good their offense was 2 years ago when Tua didn't die and like not play?
Yeah,
and
well,
then so there you go. That's kind of what I'm
well, that was
on,
2 years ago, and now Tua's 2 years older. 2 years older, and he's 2 more concussions away from never playing football again.
That's a good
one. That's fair. If he gets concussed again, man, the dude never should. He shouldn't play anymore at all.
He really shouldn't. And I'm not laughing at it being a.
No, I'm not laughing at that. That was a pretty good one, actually. That was a quality joke on the 2 or more. I like that one.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm here for. But yeah, you just mentioned my guy, and that's Garrett Wilson. Right in that same ADP. Wide receiver 14. So again, late 3rd round. He finished wide receiver 11 last year. Obviously, that was with Captain Ayahuasca under center for most of it, and before his
she's got the
boyfriend came to town.
Man. Love it.
Oh, but even when Adams was there, Wilson was still good. He still had value at that point, but. The thing I'm looking at here, okay, he averaged about 6 receptions a game last year. Solid for, especially for PPR and for the ability to get yards, thinking, well, 6 receptions, he should have a lot of yardage. He only had 4 games over 100 yards. So 10 games under 60 yards. Like that is screaming inconsistency. And with Fields under center this year, he's a running quarterback. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to bring this year. I mean, the Jets are just a dumpster fire anyways. So I'm not in on Wilson this year. I'm staying as far away from pretty much all the Jets that I can, unless bye week hell hits me or something, and I just have to. I just don't want it. I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah,
Bring on the
Wilson would have been.
disagreements.
No, Wilson would have been my guy had you not written him down first. Yeah, I mean, I know Adams is gone, so now it's Wilson or bust in that receiving core. But yeah, Justin Fields, we've seen it. Like it doesn't work, man. It just doesn't work with his receivers. It's very hit or miss with these guys. No, I'm not interested in his ADP.
I can do this.
I mean, and honestly, it's lower. It's lower than it probably should be. So, like, you would think it's, the risk is baked in, but I don't think it's gone far enough. I think it should go farther.
I think he needs to drop down, definitely more. I mean,
I've got him below McLaurin, and I'm thinking about dropping him more.
Yeah, I would easily take McLaurin over him. I would take. Sorry, I'm trying to sort here.
I would take Devontae Adams over him. I would take Tyreek Hill over
Devontae,
him.
I would take over him.
I
probably not Harrison. Mike Evans, maybe just because he never gets under 1,000 yards.
I take Mike Evans ahead of him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I've got Mike Evans ahead of both him and McLaurin. So there you go.
So I've already got part of the do not draft wide receivers, and Garrett Wilson's on that list too. So he would have also been somebody that I consider for doing this. So I already have figured some math out here. So Justin Fields has played 43 games in his career where he's taken 40 snaps or more, right? 43 games. In those games, he's averaged 25.4 pass attempts, which is basically on line with at Philadelphia for the lowest rate in the league last season. They averaged 25.7. So let's be kind and say he throws it 28.5 times a game. Even at that rate, he's going to have about 485 pass attempts on the season. In order for him to get the same amount of targets he had last season, he needs the ball to come his way 32% of the time. That the only receiver who did that last season was Malik Neighbors. And Garrett Wilson is not taking that type of a target share, and Justin Fields is not the quarterback that's going to do that and just force it to him. So, yeah, it's just math. In Garrett Wilson's case, there's just not that many targets available, and Justin Fields is the greatest quarterback to do it.
Can I in 2023, Garrett Wilson saw 30% of the targets.
Yeah.
So it's possible, right? Like, because there's nobody else there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to get everything, right?
You're looking at Josh Reynolds, who's shown a couple of flashes of being kind of okay. Alan Lazard, who, again, I don't even know why he's still in the league.
And because he's Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers likes him.
Well, yeah, but he's not there anymore. So is he going to be the next
He'll probably be
traded player in Pittsburgh?
He'll be traded there. He'll be traded soon. So 2023.
Nobody else there really inspires much.
Who was the Jets quarterback in 2023? Was that
Wilson and
Zach Wilson was the quarterback? That was the year that he was getting him the ball that much?
Yeah.
Like, say what you want. Justin Fields is a better quarterback than Zach Wilson. So, he could do this. It's going to take an outlier type season, is what it's going to take from Garrett Wilson. So, yes, he could do this. DJ Moore had a top, I think, 12 season with Justin Fields throwing the ball in 2023 on that same type of target share. But he was getting downfield, like 15 yards per attempt reception rate or reception yards per catch. And that's not what we've seen from Garrett Wilson. He doesn't typically win down the field. So it's going to be really hard for him to be a top 12 or top 14 even wide receiver. So I'm going to go with, I think, probably the highest person that we have of any of these. Well, maybe Achane and him are in competition for highest ADP overall. And I'm going to talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown. And before everybody comes at me, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is very good. I do not think that he should go in the first round. So once again, wide receiver 6 right now in ADP, 3 straight seasons, top 10 wide receiver, back-to-back wide receiver 3 finishes. He's awesome, right? But he caught 81.6% of his passes last year. Highest mark with a receiver, but with 100 targets since Michael Thomas in 2018. You know how hard that is? Yes, he is awesome at that. He has the second highest catch rate of any player of all time at 75.4%. Only Michael Thomas is higher. But let's just drop it down to 75%. That's a big chunk. it hides the fact his targets fell last season. 141 targets is good. It's good, but it's 25 less than the year we saw, than he got the year before that, because Jamison Williams got more involved. Sam LaPorta is involved in this offense, and we already talked about they want to run the ball. If he had a still excellent catch rate, 73%, right? That's basically what Ladd McConkey and JSN did last year, who are very comparable players to what he could do. And then instead of 12 receptions, it's 103 receptions, or 115 receptions, it's 103 receptions. You take away 11 yards a catch like he averaged, you drop 132 yards off that, and then maybe he loses a touchdown. Suddenly, instead of being 5th, he falls to 14th. It's just really hard to catch 81% of the balls thrown your way. So I think he's very good. Do not get me wrong. But I would like you talk about players behind him. I'll bump Brian Thomas Jr. over him. I'll bump Nico Collins over him, because those guys, I think they're going to get the ball thrown to him a lot more. Travis Hunter's good, right? Nico has nobody there. I'll take Drake London over him at this point. I think the touchdowns are, I'll take AJ Brown over him. And then we get interesting, because then he falls into the Ladd McConkey JSN range, which is where I think I value him at the back of the second round, because I think that's what he is. And maybe he's just the best all time, and I'm going to look like a fool because he's going to catch 80% of his passes all the time, and then I'll just eat that. But when I look at that, that is an outlier of outlier numbers. And if it comes down just a little bit, he's still good, but you're going to be disappointed. He's going to deliver like wide receiver 10-ish numbers instead of what he's always offered before.
Yeah,
eat me alive. I'm ready.
I'm not into taking him in the first round either. I do like him. I agree. He is, a really good receiver. But it's just tough to really know what's going to happen without Ben Johnson there. We already talked about, Goff being a bust. Now, we've got him on here. So I can't dip in that high for not really an unknown, but a potential unknown because of the style of the team and the offense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. I mean, he's another guy that I don't think it's hard for him he has to have like the perfect kind of season to go his way. Like these like possession type guys are tough to Keenan Allen, right? Good example. Very, very consistent guy, but it was really hard for him to return first round value every single year. And I don't have the numbers up because I just randomly thought about it, but I know he did it occasionally, but most often did not return those numbers. Just throw another name out there. Like you're talking about the same type of guy, just super heavy pass volume. I mean, but like Neighbors, man, like totally crazy pass volume. Yeah, I know he's getting a quarterback upgrade this year because how could he not? But like, holy cow, man! If he doesn't see 170 targets again, like, what's going to happen to him? Like that's tough, man. And he's being drafted. So, like, man, we're talking like first half of the first round this year. And I don't know, man. I don't know if I can pull the trigger on that. But it's just another guy that just popped in my head when you talked about Amon-Ra.
Yeah, so. I did not. I actually considered Malik Neighbors. I didn't do it yet because I said, St. Brown's got a bunch of other weapons around him. You're talking about like lack of weapons.
Right.
Giants. That's the difference.
Right.
But,
that is a huge difference.
But Amon-Ra has a much better quarterback. Like I already talked about Jared Goff on my bus list. I'll take Jared Goff 1,000 times out of 1,000 over
Russ Wilson,
the ghost of Russ Wilson and Jameis Winston and Jackson Darts was a rookie. So
absolutely,
that's the difference there.
Big time. All right. Let's finish things off here with our tight ends. AJ, who you got, man?
Well, going with the theme of tonight's activity of busts, I am going with a Detroit Lion named Sam LaPorta. Nobody likes Detroit. But yeah, LaPorta for me, he finished tight end 7 last year, which for tight ends is like phenomenal because nobody finishes ever high. They all suck.
Nobody ever finishes
right now,
in the top 10 of tight ends ever.
Exactly. Not at all. That 7 is a misnomer.
It's 1 or
yeah,
13.
Yeah, he's got an ADP of 53.5 right now, so he's mid 4th round. I feel like that's kind of early to take a tight end, anyways. Especially one who only had one game over 100 yards last year, and only 2 games over 65 yards. One of them being that 100-yard game. He had less than 4 receptions a game last year. The volume just isn't there for him anymore, and we just talked about how many different mouths there are to feed in Detroit. Looking at what he did last year, he played almost every game. He was 1 game out, compared to 23, where he did play all games. His targets dropped nearly 40. His receptions were down 26. Yardage was down, 100, 160-ish. So not terrible drop there, but I can't buy into this right now. And again, it's just not knowing what we can expect out of this offense right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not. I'd rather go after pretty much any of these tight ends after him. Where they're going. It's just a better get. Looking at Hawkinson coming back, he was pretty solid last year after he came back from the injury. We already talked about Kelsey. I'd probably take him over Kelsey. Njoku maybe, but you just don't know which quarterback you're getting there. So at that point, I think I'm just gonna wait. Or I'm gonna wait and go after like a Dalton Kincaid, or even a Goddard. Why not?
So I will say this: Sam LaPorta had an ankle injury early on that really slowed him down early, and you could tell. And then they got Jameson Williams involved in that offense a lot more than I think anybody thought. And of course, Jahmyr Gibbs exploded. So that obviously took a lot away from LaPorta. LaPorta had the amazing rookie season. A lot of it was touchdown based. I did say that I thought he was going to kind of regress. I didn't think he was going to be as bad as he was last year. But I will say from week 13 on, he finished on average per game as tight end 6 in half PPR leagues. So he's going right around that range now. And in a total point standpoint, he was tight end 4 between that same stretch of
period,
time.
13 on.
Yeah. So of course, there's bye weeks mixed in, there's injuries mixed in, so that plays a factor. But he had a good finish to the season. I think you want to see him build on that. But yeah, there's a lot of red flags. There's a lot of risk here drafting Sam LaPorta where he's going, because you're still drafting him as an elite tight end where he's going, and that's hard to rely on after what you saw last year.
Yeah, and a lot of those games, like you said, the smaller sampling of yardage and everything there. I mean, he didn't even have his first touchdown last year until week 5, but then he blew up, with 2 in week 11, and then a couple more in 14 and 15. So he still had some stinker yardage after that. I mean, it was just very, very middling for somebody that you're drafting in the 4th round.
He saw 100. Yeah, he saw 120 targets in 2023. Last year, it dropped all the way down to 83. So a massive difference. The offense opened up, and got spread around big time. And I don't think that's really going to change this year. So there is, but I think it's already kind of baked into the cost. It's hard to call him a bust. I think it's just you're probably just disappointed from last year.
I'm calling him a bust based on his draft cost again for me. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that probably like him there, or even better. More power to you. The one thing you talked about, the touchdowns. I mean, he had 7 last year, but he only had 10 in his rookie year. For as good as that rookie year was, he really didn't drop too far off of that.
I was going to say he did get 4 in those last 5 weeks, though, so that really boosted him up. It was 4 in week 13, and
Yeah,
then 2, and then
4
1 in
in week
16 and 17.
13, yeah. Yeah, so or that that's what I meant. I was reading the wrong numbers there.
So yeah. But I
don't know,
digress.
Corey, anything on him?
I think you just have to make it. If you like Sam LaPorta, you have to convince yourself that he is going to keep getting targets over Jameson Williams. That's what it comes down to. Because say what I want about Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's going to get his targets and all those other things that we've talked about with Jahmyr Gibbs. But like rookie season, Sam LaPorta averaged over 7 targets a game, and Jameson Williams averaged 3.5. And last season, Sam LaPorta's dropped to just over 5 a game, and Jameson Williams went to just over 6 a game. So there's basically 10, 11 targets between the two of them per game. If it's an even split, it favors Jameson Williams. He's getting downfield. If Sam LaPorta takes more of them, it's going to favor him. I am fine taking Sam LaPorta. I want him in the 6th round. Do I think that there's like massive blow up? He's going to be a top 3 tight end? No. Do I think that he's going to fall outside the top 10? Probably not. He's more likely to finish in the 6 to 10 range. I'm fine with that. I said I want one of the top 6, or I'll just punt it till the very end. Sam LaPorta falls in that group, but it's not like I'm, trumping up an ADP to make sure I get Sam LaPorta. So that's where I say.
Agree.
I will take my bust tight end here, and that is another kind of like tale of 2 seasons you're talking about with Sam LaPorta. Maybe the biggest tale of 2 seasons in all was Mark Andrews, who everybody was ready to cut. Man, was it terrible. And I didn't have him anywhere, but Joe and I were doing the waiver wire every week, and I remember people being like, can I just cut Mark Andrews yet? And it's like, I guess if you really want to, you can. But
who are you going to pick up? That was the problem.
Well, that was the problem, right? So first 9 weeks, he averaged 8.5 points per game. There are 2 weeks in there he played, and he got skunked. Did not catch a single pass. Yep. And then
that was terrible for me.
Clear improvement. Week 10 through the end of the season, he averaged 14 fantasy points a game again, which was 4th among tight ends in that time. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, so what really changes here, right? And like with LaPorta, in the offseason, he had some surgery done. I think it was to his foot. But you could say, he got healthy. Maybe that's what's different there. But I really think it's just a bunch of touchdown luck. 7 of the last 8 games he catches a touchdown. He scored 11 touchdowns on 55 receptions. You want to 1 out of every 5 catches he had went for a touchdown. That is a ridiculously impossible to sustain rate. And you could say, well, Lamar Jackson's really good. Yeah, he is. He's really good. I get that. But you're not going to score 1 out of every 5 times you touch the ball like Mark Andrews did last season. So instead of 11 touchdowns, if it's 5 touchdowns, you're dropping off considerably. And then he's in the streamer range. If we were getting a substantial discount based off the fact that he sucked in the first half, I'd be like, sure, I'll take Mark Andrews. You're talking about like the Dallas Goedert range. I'd love him down in there. I'll take him at that cost. But we didn't get the discount. He's still going as the tight end 7. There's just way too many ways that goes wrong for me. Then I hunt on a team that has Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson running the ball. I do not expect him to have 11 touchdowns. And on 55 catches, I definitely don't see that happening again. So pass.
Well, so the only thing I would say is I do think the targets and the receptions are going to go up and the yards will go up. Touchdowns will go down. So maybe it just kind of like evens out. But I've never been a big, like, I got to go get the pass catcher from Baltimore. Not Mark Andrews. I will say he has been the one guy that I'm like, he's Lamar's boy. Like, you got to trust it. Last year they said they wanted to get Isaiah Likely the ball, and it looked like they were going to do that. But I think there was that injury. You got to remember he got injured in the offseason. I want to say was it like a car accident or something random like that? Like he got he definitely had something happen to him, and it affected him early on, and then like all of a sudden just like boom, he came on like you expected him to. I don't know. I'm a little more optimistic with Mark Andrews than you are, but I see it.
You're taking him. You're willing to take him at that 82 cost. Was that 7th round, 8th round? You're good at that?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, he's tight end 7. I mean, you wait after him. I mean, you're talking about David Njoku, who Evan Ingram.
Yes, that's one of those top 6 I want.
I don't know, man. Like
push it
going
up.
to
That's
a
one of
new
the ones I
team,
want.
he's one I'm not totally confident on. I'll skip the next one because it's my guy who I'm going to talk about here. We got Tucker Kraft, which I don't know. I mean, he has his games, sure.
No.
Tyler Warren, rookie, no thanks in Indy. I'm not a fan of him. I think he was kind of my like backup bust option here. I didn't mention him, but good luck. Like dynasty, fine, but no way this year. Dalton Kincaid, not been great. Loveland, I mean, I think he's got talent, but how's he going to get the ball? And then Goddard, Ferguson, Pitts, Freiermuth, Likely, Ertz, Henry, Otten. Like, okay, these are all the ADPs. Like, it's just nuts. Like, I just kind of think Andrews is solidified in his offense. They have a lack of pass catchers. Andrews is the guy. But let's get to my guy who his ADP is dropping, but not enough yet. And maybe it will catch up. I know ADP is tough because it's some sites do average the whole draft season. Some do a period of time. Jonnu Smith is still way too high in my book. I don't know how you can trust him going to a Pittsburgh team that has Aaron Rodgers, for one, who does not really like to pass the tight ends. I don't think Pat Freiermuth is going away. I think they will probably use both of these guys. I'm not confident that Jonnu Smith isn't going to be the blocking tight end on this team. And as weird as that is to say, like, let's think back a couple of years, right? When Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry both showed up to New England. Remember how excited we were? And then how quickly disappointed we were. 45 targets and 38 targets in consecutive years for Jonnu Smith. Yes, he was hurt for the second year for a little bit, but man, super disappointing. He stayed in to block a lot more. I think the jury is still out as to how they're going to use both these guys. They traded for him, so you want to say, hey, they're going to use him like crazy, but I don't know, man. It's I think Freiermuth, as Kyle is saying, is early projections are saying that Freiermuth is going to get more touchdowns, and maybe a larger target share just because he's been involved with that team more. I don't know. It something just doesn't sit right with me with Jonnu Smith. I think we're all banking on last year's blow up year for him, best year by quite a bit, 111 targets, 884 yards, 8 touchdowns. He matched 8 touchdowns once in his career, but none of those other ones come even close. I just don't see this being repeatable for him at all. And he's being still kind of overdrafted at, tight end. He has dropped all the way to tight end 10. But at that point, I'll take my chances with anybody else behind him. If I get to that point, I haven't had my tight end yet, I'm out. Just taking whoever's left at the end. And Jonnu Smith is not going to be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's
tight end 18.
there.
Where are you seeing tight end 18, Jonnu? Or for Jonnu, Jamie? He went tight end 17 in my current draft. What are you talking about? Scott Fishbowl? I mean, I'll take him at tight end 17, but I have not seen him going anywhere close to that.
Yeah. But again, there's no one to really throw the ball to there not named DK Metcalf. I mean, Calvin Austin is what he is. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, we already talked about that. Okay. Robert Woods is a shell of himself. Roman Wilson, Scott Miller, Ben Skronik. I mean,
I get it.
Nothing there. I'm not disagreeing with you. Let me be clear about it.
Yeah.
I just think that he'll get some targets. I just don't see him putting up what he did last year. And that was above and beyond.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, we talked about it, I think last week, and I forget why, but he regularly does not target his tight ends as much as everybody thinks he does. He's had a couple outlier seasons with a couple of guys, but for the most part, it just doesn't happen. So he hyper targets one guy. It's going to be DK this year. And then that's kind of it.
Yeah.
I think even if Jonnu Smith had never gotten traded, you could have almost assumed regression to the mean, and then he got traded to Pittsburgh, and then you just bump the regression times like 2 or 3 because of what everything you said. Like he would have gone. I would have expected less even if he stayed in Miami. So the goal should always be like, you don't want to draft Jonnu Smith this year. You want to draft this year's Jonnu Smith, right? Like the one who goes at the very end of the draft who blows up for 900 yards and 8 touchdowns. Don't and then pass the following year. So yeah, fully agree with Jonnu Smith there.
Yeah. I mean, I still got Jonnu Smith at 12, and I'm not gonna lie, like I don't feel good about it. I still keep thinking
I don't want any part of that.
I don't know. It's like I have this whole like cluster of tight ends at like 12 to like 18, and I'm like, I don't want any of them. I don't really want any of the ones after it either, but
yeah.
So
we did it.
No, I'm out.
Oh, all right. So finished a couple news items here, and got Brandon Ayuk on the pup or week 1. What do you mean here, Corey? You wrote this down, I'm guessing.
I did. So there was like an update like mere hours before we started doing this. That was they said we got an update from, I don't remember who did it, from Brandon Ayuk, that it was everybody's kind of assumed that he's going to be put on the pup list to start the season. I think that's kind of been, it's him and Stephon Diggs that have been sort of assumed it's going to happen. And they said it's still possible, but he's ahead of where he is in his training, and he may be active for week 1.
Okay.
I don't know. Have you been excited to draft Brandon Ayuk? We haven't talked about him yet. Is anybody excited to draft Brandon Ayuk?
Because I mean, I still think, like I said last week, I think there's an outside chance he still gets traded at some point. They don't want him there anymore, man. Like him and Shanahan do not get along.
I will be excited if the person ahead of me on whichever turn it is just takes him, and then I wouldn't be, but then I can at least laugh.
Check out his spread in ADP on our site though. Like sleeper 84 to ESPN 161, and even if you throw off ESPN, like NFFC 121, that's like 4 rounds different. I don't know, that's wild. Even not even counting the wild one on ESPN. So some people are still in. Some of these sites are still in, and I said it, like you said, I said it last week too. San Francisco for me, it's just Ayuk, Jennings, McCaffrey, Kittle, and I don't know who wants it. I don't know who's getting the ball.
Jamie's talking about Raul and Kyle here. That's their co-host on the Dynasty Six Pack podcast that they do Wednesday nights. So apparently we got one. So speaking of one, Najee might only have one eye.
Man,
no idea.
The injury jokes are getting me tonight here.
That was not planned. That just sort of fell in my lap, so I just rolled with it. But Najee Harris,
2 E's in both Najee and I.
Yeah.
And not an eye.
They're saying it was a superficial eye injury, so whatever that means, they're saying it might be okay. I don't know. Firework.
Somebody there got like their finger blown off at the party though, so it sounds like it could have been a lot worse. Somebody else at this party got his finger blown off. So
who knows what's going to happen
injury
with him
or something?
AI injury. Do we actually
be superficial?
The question is are you actually moving Najee Harris up or down? Like you're obviously not moving him up. Are you moving him down in your rankings because of this, Joe?
I think I need to see a little bit. I need a little bit more information.
Yeah.
I think at this point, I'm just holding where it's at right now. Najee's sitting around like the 30, like the mid 30s. I've still got O'Marion Hampton, in that like low RB2 range. I still think he's gonna be like the guy at the end of the day. Najee, if he comes in and like if camp starts and he's not there because of his eye injury, not getting work, and Hampton's like doing awesome, then yeah, it'll start shifting. I don't know how much higher I would move Hampton, but I think Najee would drop even more. But if Harris is there and they're kind of just splitting the work, then I think they're going to kind of merge to the middle. They'll both be that like low, that like first tier of running back threes because like you kind of feel that split coming. That's what's going to happen. But there just needs to be a lot more information at this point. We really have none, man.
He comes out wearing an eye patch. Are you bumping him up in your rankings because he's just a badass then?
Only if he comes out wearing like a pirate hat, man. We got breaking news from Jamie here. I don't know if we didn't see this one or I just didn't care, but Kavate Turpin arrested for gun and drug charges. So he can't smoke the Commanders
because he didn't run away from that.
He can't smoke the Commanders on like 2 kickoff returns in one game anymore. So, I think that's all we got for the show. Thank you for watching and listening wherever you are. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Jump on over to Fantasy Six Pack, become an all access member. F6P pods to save 15%. And next week, what do we got? What do we got next week?
Safest and riskiest
players to draft. There we go. Yep. Sorry, we were saying at the same time.
Is there an echo in here?
Yeah. So kind of this, little bit of, might hear some repeated names, but I think it's a different way of looking at sleepers and busts. It's not truly just draft costs, but it's just everything kind of built into one here with these players. So safest and riskiest players to draft. We got a bunch of guys that we'll list off for you here. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you for listening. And you guys got anything else or call it a day?
I'm good.
All right.
I will not be here for that show, but enjoy without me.
Oh, that's right. We will.
I'm sure.
Sorry. All right. See you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.